Hello. So in this video, we're going to keep working with the Space Invaders tutorial, and we're going to add in images. So instead of it just being circles and rectangles, we're going to put in the images then to bring the game together. So I'm going to start by defining the properties for the image sources. There are a few different ways I could go about putting these into the objects. But it's not like each individual alien is going to have its own picture, at least not in the version that I'm doing. Same for lasers, same for bombs. We're not going to share them together. So maybe what I actually want to do is just make what I would call static variables or static properties, just meaning that they're shared by all of them. So aliens share the same image, lasers share the same image, bombs share the same image, and the player shares the same image. So we kind of go about that route. So I'm going to make an object called images, IMGS, and I'm going to leave that way. And then in function preload, I'm going to make a new function preload. It's going to load all the image files because it does have a certain amount of data, so it takes an amount of time to do it. So that's where I'm going to say imgs dot alien is equal to load image, and that's where I put in the link then for the image. Now before we've had that be a property, so it said alien.src or something. But since I'm doing them as a group, I'm just going to go ahead and put the link right there. So I'm going to pull this from the Schoology assignment. So it's posted right there for you to copy and paste. All right, so here's the alien one. Now it's kind of treating it like a variable, so it's very confusing. So use quotes at the beginning and the end there. All right, so that should then actually load in the image pixels. It's not going to draw it yet, but it will at least load it in. So let's then do the same thing for all the other ones. So it's like images. Oh, you know what I have to do on line 10? I have to say let images equal curly braces. Make it an object. That way I can do a dot alien dot bomb. So images dot, next one is bomb equals load image parentheses quotes, and then I'll copy that link. Same thing for laser. And images dot laser equals load image friends quotes in case of the link. And I'll set up player the same way. And our player is kind of different, but I'll just keep them all together. So images dot player equals load image parens quotes and then paste in the link. All right, so that should load all the image pixels. Again, I'm not actually going to see it. I'm just going to run it. So you can see how it actually had to wait a little bit. It takes a certain amount of time to load those pixels. But it didn't throw an error or crash the code or anything, so that's good. And so that's the function preload here. So now I can go into when I'm drawing everything, and instead of drawing a rectangle and a circle, I can use those images. And what I probably could do is actually attach them to the individual objects themselves, because that would then allow me to make a function called draw sprite. Right now I have draw laser and everything. I could actually have a function called draw sprite. So I think I'm going to do that. Yeah. So when I go to spawn aliens, it has an alien.x, alien.y, all that kind of stuff. Then I'm going to say alien singular dot img equals, and I'm going to pull it from that images dot alien. That way it will be set to be the same thing. So I will actually have that image right there. And then a similar idea for laser. On fire laser, after laser.active, set its properties, and laser.img is equal to images dot laser. Drop bomb, kind of the same thing as laser there. So after bomb.active, I'm going to do bomb.img is equal to imgs dot bomb. And then spawn player, same kind of idea, right? So after player.hp, notice how I'm still inside the curly brace. It's kind of hard to see that. Player.img is equal to imgs dot player. Now, each of those sprites has a .img property, and they're all set up that same way. So that allows me to treat them the same way. I'm going to make this function called drawSprite. I could put it anywhere, but probably just kind of makes sense to put it right around here with update sprite and draw alien and everything. So after this curly brace before the next function, make a function called drawSprite. It's in this. And I will say image, draw an image with the sprite.img, right? So it's going to pull that .img property that everything has. Aliens have it, laser, bomb, player, comma, on the sprite.x, on the sprite.y, sprite.width. They do all have a width and height property. Sprite.height. So it knows how to draw a sprite. It just needs to, that needs to be called. So I go back in my function draw, and everywhere where I said something like draw alien, draw laser, draw player, I'm not going to say draw alien anymore. I'm going to say draw sprite. I'm still going to leave this, I'm still pulling something out of the aliens array. That's what the aliens brackets I does. The brackets I is what pulls one thing out with its index number. But I'm just going to, instead of calling draw alien, I'm going to call draw sprite that knows how to do an image now. So if I press play, I should at least get the aliens to be indifferent. Yeah, all right, so then they show up like that. So I'm going to do the same thing for all the other sprites. I look for anywhere I said draw laser. I don't want to use that function anymore. That draws a rectangle. All right, but you don't really see much of a difference if you zoomed in because it's a laser. So draw bomb, I'm going to call the draw sprite function with the same bomb. So the circle, that's that image. And then instead of draw player, I'm going to use the draw sprite function. Okay, so that was interesting. Oh, because I didn't pass anything. So that the way that function works is different. All right, so now I got my player spaceship here. It looks a little squashed. I could probably change that. I'm just going to go to spawn player and make the height not so big, not so much bigger than. Yeah, that looks better. And then just for the sake of making it a little more decorative, In function draw, instead of setting the background to 220, I'm going to set it to 0, which is 0 light. It's going to be the color black. So it just makes it look a little more space-like. And then maybe I could even draw some stars. Now they're just going to be like circles, or there's going to be points or something. So I'm going to call it from function draw. And since I'm right here, let me just go ahead and do this. I'm going to pretend like I have a function called draw stars. And then I'm going to call that function. So then I'm going to define it. I could even put it right here. So function draw stars. Doesn't need any parameters or anything. It's just going to draw them. So I want it to randomly draw some stars all over the screen. So it is going to be inside a for loop, because I'm going to draw a certain number of them. But I equals 0, semicolon. I less than 100, semicolon. I plus plus. All right, so repeat some code 100 times. And what I'm going to do is say point, which is it's going to draw a circle, basically, a really small one. I'll draw a point at a certain x and y location, and that's just going to be a random, the x location is going to be some random number between 0 and the width of the canvas. And then the y, so comma, the y is going to be a random number between 0 and the height of the canvas. All right, and I'm not actually seeing that show up. Let's see what I got to change here. I might have said no stroke somewhere. So I'm going to say stroke. So before I do the for loop thing, I'm going to set stroke, which is like saying fill. And when I usually say fill blue, fill green, that sets the color of the filling. Stroke sets the color of the points and strokes and everything like that. So I'm going to set the stroke color to white. I do think I turned off stroke somewhere. I never call it. Okay, yeah, so I got it. And it's constantly random. I could change this up a little bit to not be changing so much. But yeah, it kind of looks like we're traveling through space at some crazy speed or something. Maybe it just looks a little better if I only draw 30 of them. It just gives a little less chaos. Yeah, so I think it kind of looks like we're going through space. They're moving all over the place pretty fast. But, yeah, so we got Space Invaders kind of look to the game. Yeah, certainly changed a few features of it, but we got spaceships, some aliens moving down, they're dropping actual bombs, the lasers, and then we got this space look going on. So that'll do it for Space Invaders.